Hey everybody, Flip and Danny here, founders of the Freedom Real Estate Group family of companies, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, which is called
Freedom Through Passive Income.
That's right, and welcome to another episode. Ooh, this is a juicy one. I like this one. This one is called Real Estate Fraud Rears Its Ugly Head.
Yeah, so I was on Facebook just taking a break from work, and I know that we talked about this. Shouldn't take breaks by looking at Facebook, but habit popped on.
Guilty.
Yeah, and I saw a friend of ours posting a couple articles about real estate fraud. And so I wasn't able to read the article of one of them, but the one I did read was a Twin Cities house flipper is facing nearly 5 years in prison for investor fraud scheme. And the article essentially, I'll let you read it. This is fresh, right? This is December 9th, 2022.
Yep. And when I don't know what it is, there's some things you'll read that you automatically, instinctively think that, wow, this guy is such a piece of crap. I can't believe this guy is doing all this. And so I'm reading this Twin City house flipper faces 5 years in prison. He deserves it. And then it says, Suzanne Griffiths.
She deserves it.
She deserves it. I don't say that very often, but so she's 46. She's been sentenced to 58 months in prison. And for those of you keeping score at home, that is 2 months shy of 5 years.
Yep.
And just think of 5 years, what happened in the last 5 years. And oh, man. And then followed by 2 years of supervised release and is ordered to pay, holy moly, that's a lot of cheddar, $1.6 million in restitution for defrauding multiple clients from 2018 to 2020.
Yeah.
She frequently made misrepresentations about the status of real estate projects, failed to take promised action, falsified documents, and misappropriated investments.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow is right. So I actually timed this episode to be after yesterday's episode on purpose, because we talked about the fact that the type of investment vehicle you choose is not as important as, and the answer was the team.
Your team, that's right.
Who you invest with makes all the difference in the world, from your money being lost. In the article, because you gave the highlights there, in the article, there was one deal where she borrowed $100,000 from one person and $70,000 from the other person. And my assumption is these are newer investors who don't know how to protect themselves. And one of the things that we do when we have investors on properties is we talk to you about how to protect yourself. Like, we're like the ones going, don't get, cheated. Don't lose your money. Like, this is about investing with the right people, and don't invest with us until you're comfortable with us. Like, we're very, very adamant about teaching, educating, and making sure that, hey, once you invest with us, then you're going to have this experience, and then you can invest more, right? Start small. There's lots of things that we do with our clients and investors, and we view them really as partners in deals, even though legally we don't say that, because, well, you can't say that if they're not a real partner and, a part of an active role in the real estate. But from a mental standpoint, we view them as partners, right? We're doing this together. We're building together. It's a win-win relationship. And we will make sure that you're protected. And we've talked over and over again about, we will lose money before we will allow our private lenders to lose money. And we've done it over and over and over again, because we don't want something like that. I don't even want somebody saying, Danny came back and renegotiated what she owed me. She said she was going to do this, but then she did this. I don't even want that. I certainly don't want to pay $1.6 million in restitution, have to go to jail for almost 5 years, and just ruin my entire reputation. And down with that, probably the business falls too, right? So many people are short-sighted, right? Why would you do something like this for, let's just say that, she spent that $1.6 million, right? $1.6 million is not worth 5 years in prison. It's not worth ruining your name. The hard work that it takes you to make way more than $1.6 million that you can be prideful about, that you can know that you helped other people achieve things too. I just don't get it. But
yeah.
the point of this podcast really is to go, if you are a private lender, if you are investing with other people, you better vet them, and you better know who you're handing your money over to, and you better know how you are protected in a transaction. So I'm going to let you, I could rant about this forever, so I'm going to let you talk.
Yeah. They always say, you can spend your whole life building your name.
Yeah.
And one small little action just destroy it all.
That's right.
But it reminded me of when we first got into the turnkey business. What we wanted to do is we wanted to look at the other turnkey companies out there and see what they're doing. How do we do what they're doing, but do it better?
Yep.
And like shortly after we started, there was a turnkey company that the guy was selling all these houses, and the houses didn't exist. Or like they would sell a house, the house would burn down, and they'd close on the house, and then they kept telling them that they're working on the house or whatever. And then all of a sudden these investors decide to start driving by their houses that they own, because they're out of state investors. And so they fly into the town where their house is, and they drive up, and there's no house there. And I haven't looked because I hadn't even thought about this guy in forever. So I don't even know what the status is on this, but I do know that when this happened, he flew to Portugal to take care of his health. Okay. Talk about, again, and just if you think you're bigger than everything, you're wrong.
Yes.
It's gonna come out. You're gonna get caught. It's some people, I tell you.
Yeah.
But here I'm reading about all this guy, and I'm like, that's all we got to be better than that? What?
Yeah. So if you have not listened to episodes where we talk about being a private money lender on a property, and we talk about the process and how you're secured, how you're protected, then AJ, if you could add the podcast link in the description on the YouTube screen, wherever, so that people can just click and push over to it if they want to learn all that. We go into great detail on the phone about this type of thing, so that you know what you're getting, and you know how you're protected and what to look for, what questions to ask. We give you our team's phone numbers. There's a video that I did with an attorney, our CFO at the time. Actually, he was our CPA at the time. He turned into our CFO. One of our private money lenders, a custodian who deals with retirement accounts, and I asked them all the questions that people usually ask me, so that people could actually hear. And then I put their names and their phone numbers and everything on there, going, "Hey, you guys can call these guys. They've been working with us for a very long time, and they know us. And you can ask them every question. Like, you should have that type of transparency, and the person, the team." That matters just so very much. So if you want to go back to that podcast and listen to it, you're going to hear a lot of great stuff. And then we're actually launching a course in 2023. And part of the goal behind that course is to, again, help educate people how to avoid situations like this. And like I said, yesterday's episode really hit on the biggest thing. And that's, who are you investing with? What does their team look like? And then there's a Warren Buffett quote, Flip, that I'm going to let you say, because I loved it, and I added it to the bottom of this episode because it's perfect and so true.
I was like, I need to remember a Warren Buffett quote. What? The quote is, "Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked."
Yes. And this is, I wrote it down because I was following the thread of all the different real estate investors going, this is just sad, and this is what brings fear, into people. And I don't think it should bring fear. I think it should bring wisdom, right? Of knowing who you're investing with, right? Of knowing the answers to the questions that we're talking about here. Because yes, when economies change, when markets change, then the tidewaters start, showing who the real investors are, who are the ones that are going to last, who are the ones that know how to get through a downturn or a different market cycle. And it's not the new investors, it's not the fraudulent investors, right? You start seeing all those true colors, and that's a good thing, right? You got to weed them out. So I'm glad that she was caught. I'm glad that she is going to have to pay those investors back, because some investors, unfortunately, are not as fortunate. And you and I know somebody local in the Ohio area who has taken a lot of money from a lot of people, and we keep hearing that the hammer's coming down on this person as well. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not like I want to be there. I've not been watching for the hammer to come down. I'm not that type of person, but I have many times. We created this, personal experiences list that gets posted. And I'm sorry, this is long. But we'll end with this. We created this personal experiences list because we wanted to share, hey, here's all the people that have cheated us. And if they cheated us, it was because we were in a learning phase and we didn't know how to protect ourselves. They taught us how to protect ourselves better. So thank you. And here, I'm going to give you their names so that you don't get cheated. And so that you can learn. And this guy is on it. So we're doing our best to try and protect investors. And, that's all we can do. But hopefully, this person is, brought to justice too. And I hope that his investors get paid back.
That's right. Exactly. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you're heading on over to our website, Freedom Capital Investments, to join the Investor Club. Make sure you're joining there, talking to Ben or CJ. We still got a lot of stuff going on, no matter what time of year it is. It just happens to be the end of this year. But make sure you're checking us out on all the social medias. And we'd like to end all of our episodes with
Invest Smart.
Live happy. Bye, everybody.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions and information on the show are not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit and loss.